Hello, data pipeliners. Welcome back to another episode on writing data pipelines with Kedro. Today, we're going to be talking about something I find very fascinating. It's a subject called chronocoding. So, what is chronocoding? Well, chronocoding is the kind of philosophy around how you create your data rights, right? So, in Kedro, as it normally stands, there's this idea where everything is a directed acyclical graph, meaning that you cannot rely on any data sources that you are already outputting, right? And so this way, you have just one continuous stream of dependency. And so this helps protect your pipeline from a lot of different errors. However, um, I believe that there are some use cases where you do need to write to an output that otherwise also is an input. And the idea here is that this allows you to save the state of your pipeline. And by saving state, you're able to track more metadata about your pipeline that can help inform the use of the pipeline or how the pipeline is supposed to operate. And this is very useful in some cases, for example, when you need to know what was the last time you ran a particular data set or how many times have you used a particular API or these kinds of things. And so today we're going to just kind of go through how we can take advantage of this chronocoding philosophy in our Kedro pipelines. And I'm also going to show you how kedro-wings, which is the plugin that we wrote before, also allows you to automatically do this process. So let's go ahead and jump right in, and we'll take a look first at a very simple data set here. So I have a very simple node dataset and pipeline, and the node is called modify state. And what it does is it takes a state, turns it into an int, takes the current state, adds a 1 to the state, has the new state, and returns that new state as a string. The state lives as a catalog entry here, state data, and the text is text.textDataSet. So basically, all this is a simple state.txt file, which includes a number. And again, this is just a very simple example, but you can imagine for your use case, storing like the last time that you processed a particular date or how many times you used that particular API. These kinds of pieces of data are very, very useful to keep track of. But in this case, it's just a simple text object here. So we have it inside of our catalog, and we have it inside of our pipeline where we want to modify this state. So naively, what we're going to do is we're going to have our modify state function take the input of state data and then the output of state data. However, when we run this function using kedro run, we encounter an error. And the error here is that a node cannot have the same inputs and the same outputs, right? And so this is kind of the problem that we're faced with now. So how do we create a chronocoded data set? Well, the pattern here that we're going to be using very simply is we're going to take our current data set, we're going to copy it inside of the catalog, and then what we're going to do is we're going to add an exclamation point to the end of it. And so this pattern actually is borrowed from Ruby, where in Ruby, if you have a function where you enter an exclamation point at the end of the function, it is implied that that function is going to modify the state of a class. And so in this case, what we're doing is we're modifying the state of this data, and the data being the state.text data. And then what we can do in this instance is go into our pipeline and very, very simply, we add an exclamation point here. So we're going to go ahead and add that exclamation point. And then when we rerun the pipeline, you know what's going to happen. The pipeline will run successfully. And if we take a look at our state.txt file, it will have incremented to a 1. And so now when we rerun this pipeline, we'll also get a new output. rerun, and then we get a 2. And every time we run the pipeline, we're able to get a new output here. And as you can see, we're saving the state of the pipeline. Effectively, what this state.txt file is doing is it's allowing us to record how many times we've run the pipeline. And so you can see how very useful this kind of tracking is. You have um, tracking just built into the Kedro pipeline itself, and it makes it very, very useful. Um, of course, the obvious problem with this process is the fact that we have two entries inside of our catalog.yaml file. So if only there was a way to make this simple, and of course there is, and that's by using kedro-wings. So what I've done is I've pulled up the documentation right below, and you can see here we have kedro-wings, and it includes, of course, the previous example that we had before, but it also now has this new example with chronocoding. And so what kedro-wings will do is it'll take any data sets that you have added an exclamation point to, and it'll automatically generate the chrono-coded version of that data set for you. So going into our pipeline here, we have our state data with the exclamation point. We can just remove this guy here. The state itself, the state actually doesn't update, right? So we actually need to create a new data set. So all we have to do is we just do a very simple install of kedro-wings, and we can do that by making sure we go to our terminal, and then we can type in pip install kedro-wings. We should be able to get the newest version, which is 0.1.9, and then we just import it into our project as a hook. So in our project context in the run.py, hooks is equal to, and then we create a tuple. Make sure you add an extra comma, and then kedro-wings, and we create a new kedro-wings instance. I'll hit Alt-Enter to generate the import line. And so now we have a copy of kedro-wings. Going back into our pipeline, we don't have to change anything, and we have our catalog entry here just fine. When we run our pipeline once more, we will see that the state updates. And so from 4, it turns into 5, and then 5, it'll turn into 6. So kedro-wings just makes it very easy, very simple to add those chrono-coded data sets for us. And in fact, we can also take advantage of kedro-wings' original feature, which was simply creating the path or writing in the path to the data that we want. And then we can also even chronocode that particular data. So if you remember from our kedro-wings video, by typing in the full relative path to our data, we don't even need to have anything inside of the catalog YAML file, and the pipeline should still run just fine. And we can see here, we have a 7, and now we have an 8. So that does it today for how we do chronocoding. Take a look and try to figure out how you can use this process to better optimize your pipelines. And I'm 100% positive that you guys out there can use this kind of stateful pipeline in order to make your pipelines better. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to make your pipelines better. So if you think your pipelines got better, make sure you button that like, sub that subscribe, and ring that ding if you want to know when we are pipelining. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye. Take care. Have a good one.